Welcome back to Timeless Tales. Today we're diving into the history of the Cold War, a time when the world was caught between two powerful nations, the United States and the Soviet Union. Let's explore how this rivalry shaped our world. The Cold War wasn't a war with battles and soldiers fighting on the front lines. Instead, it was a period of tension, competition, and mistrust between the United States and the Soviet Union that lasted from the end of World War II in 1945 until 1991. These two superpowers had different ideas about how the world should be run. The U.S. believed in democracy and capitalism, while the Soviet Union wanted to spread communism. After World War II, Europe was in ruins. The U.S. and the Soviet Union emerged as the two most powerful countries, but they didn't trust each other. The U.S. was worried that communism would spread across the world, while the Soviet Union feared that the U.S. would use its power to stop the spread of communism. In 1947, the U.S. introduced the Truman Doctrine, promising to support countries that resisted communism. This was soon followed by the Marshall Plan, which helped rebuild European economies to prevent them from turning to communism. Europe was divided. The eastern part, controlled by the Soviet Union, became known as the Eastern Bloc, and the western part, supported by the U.S., was the Western Bloc. The term Iron Curtain was used to describe this division. Berlin, Germany's capital, became a symbol of this divide. In 1961, the Soviet Union built the Berlin Wall to prevent people from fleeing to the west. This wall stood for nearly 30 years, separating families and symbolizing the Cold War itself. Both the U.S. and the Soviet Union began to build up massive stockpiles of nuclear weapons. This led to the arms race, where both sides competed to have the most powerful weapons. The fear of nuclear war was very real, and people around the world were worried. But it wasn't all about weapons. The Cold War also sparked a competition to explore space. The Soviet Union launched the first satellite, Sputnik, in 1957, and the U.S. responded by landing the first humans on the moon in 1969. In 1962, the Cold War came very close to turning into a real war. The Soviet Union placed nuclear missiles in Cuba, just 90 miles from the U.S. This led to the Cuban Missile Crisis, a tense 13-day standoff. Thankfully, both sides agreed to remove the missiles, and war was avoided. The Cold War wasn't just about the U.S. and the Soviet Union. It affected countries all over the world. The U.S. and Soviet Union supported different sides in conflicts in places like Korea, Vietnam, and Afghanistan. These were called proxy wars because the two superpowers didn't fight each other directly, but supported others who did. By the 1980s, both the U.S. and the Soviet Union were exhausted by the constant tension. A new Soviet leader, Mikhail Gorbachev, introduced reforms called glasnost, openness, and perestroika, restructuring, to make the Soviet Union more democratic and efficient. These changes weakened the Soviet Union's control over Eastern Europe. In 1989, the Berlin Wall fell, and in 1991, the Soviet Union itself collapsed. This marked the end of the Cold War. The Cold War was a time of great tension and fear, but it also led to technological advancements and changes that shaped the modern world. It's a reminder of how powerful nations can influence global events and the importance of diplomacy in keeping peace. Thanks for watching Timeless Tales. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you never miss an episode. See you next time.